said, I was really excited about today's topic, mostly because I felt like as much as it goes deep, and I will go deep on some things, and I hope I don't lose you, but on the other side of things, it can be very practical. And I feel like a lot of people who've ever dealt into meditation will understand these topics from an experiential standpoint, not a standpoint of just, not like, reading books knowledge or just, I watched a video on YouTube, but an experiential knowledge. Because, I mean, when it comes to all knowledge, it only can be experiential. You can't know something if you haven't experienced truthfully, right? But when it comes to time, synchronicity, deja vu, coincidence, these types of things, this has to be something you've experienced yourself for you to really understand it, right? Now, when it comes to time and distance, firstly, we need to get into the mindset and the understanding that time is only here, right? Time is not in your future perception of what's going to happen to you or the past memories of what happened before. It's neither of these things, right? The only experience you ever have experienced is now. So whether or not you have a perception of what will come in the future or you're thinking about something in the past, neither of these things exist anymore, right? Neither of these things ever really existed, because anytime you've ever experienced anything, it's been now. So that's the first step of understanding time. Because in our society, we're very linear and left brain from a perception of, 1922 to 2014. Linear time, point A to point B, right? Always in this linear perception. And of course, our beautiful calendar system, the Gregorian calendar and then going back to the Julian calendar, both have instilled this mindset of this timeline, right? And now on top of this timeline, you have everyone telling you exactly what needs to be done in every single moment, right? When I need to graduate, when I need to get married, when I need to have kids, when I need to retire, when I need to do this, right? When I need to get up in the morning, when I need to take a break, when my shift is over. Everything is kind of placed for you, right? So the whole entire paradigm of our lives revolves around this concept of time. And more recently, you have this concept a lot of people are experiencing where they feel like they're running out of time, right? I feel like I can't catch up with time. I feel like I'm trying to play catch up with my life and I can't keep up. That's what a lot of people are experiencing these days, because they're starting to see that things have been kind of speeding up in their lives, and because they haven't slowed down here, they're not able to manage this speed, right? But before we get into why that's occurring, we first need to look at the calendar itself. We need to realize that the Gregorian calendar in which we live by right now has only been existing for a couple hundred years. And the calendar before that, the Julian calendar, that's basically the whole paradigm of our society, has only been around for a couple thousand years. So if we just look at that for a moment, like a couple thousand versus the entire human history, what happened to the rest? How did they live before that? It seems like if the calendar were to die tomorrow, what would we do? How would we manage our lives? How would we manage our daily routine, our birthdays, and our vacation time? How would you manage that? Now, on a deeper level, because if that doesn't get you questioning the calendar, then I don't know what will. But if I go into the next level, the reason they changed to the Gregorian calendar is because Easter was falling too late in the calendar, and they wanted to bring it back. So it's something that has been so important to us, like such a foundation for our entire lives, but it can be changed so easily. Does that not make you question things? And on a deeper level, the Julian calendar was made by emperors who were basically having an ego battle of who wanted more months or more days in their month. Augustus wanted 31, he wanted more than Julius in 30, and they were just having this battle between each other. Now, if that doesn't make you question that our entire foundation is based on this, basically a joke, an ego battle between certain individuals and a man-made created system, we need to start to look at things and how it's connecting in our lives, and how maybe that is what's causing our stress. Maybe that's what's causing our anxiety or out of nature, right? Because the natural time cycles, which we have no part in creating, like the lunar cycles, the rise and fall of the moon and the sun, the lunar cycle, obviously, and going into the seasons, these are things we've had no part in creating, but these are the cyclical motions that all ancient civilizations have all become so prevalent in understanding. The other forms of calendar, like the Mayan calendar and these things that have been used many years before, has all been based on one thing, and that's a cyclical motion of time. Not a point A to point B, but a cyclical motion of time. And I'm going to get into this in a second, how prevalent this is in your life, because we're all repeating cycles. We all know that we're repeating habitual cycles that come around, we have to deal with the problems, and then they go around. We all deal with certain people and issues with certain people, and then it kind of goes and it goes away, but then it comes back around again, right? We deal with these quite often. Now, the cyclical base of time is one thing. The other perception a lot of ancient civilizations used to view with time is that we're actually living time backwards. Life is moving backwards, where we're trying to connect the dots and figure out our lives as if we're trying to remember it. This is how they viewed it. Because when you look at a connect the dots picture, you can't connect the dots without the dots being laid out. So if we were to understand that maybe our life is, we're trying to kind of manage these dots and trying to connect certain things in a sense of us moving backwards and remembering our purpose, remembering what our path is, remembering what we're supposed to do. These are things that if we had this perception of time and we were taught this a bit earlier, it would make it a bit easier. Now, there's one thing with time that I've started to really realize, and I've been teaching this a lot to people, and this is the idea of the spiral staircase. Okay? A spiral staircase at the bottom is very wide, and then as you go up each level, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, and it never touches, it never gets to the point. It's like the exponential graph, right? So you keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It's a spiral staircase of repetitive cycles. So most people in life never get off the one cycle because they always repeat the same thing. They keep doing it over and over and over. They never learn the lessons they need to, and they keep repeating it. So when you think of ideas like coincidence, of course it's going to be random. Of course, if you're only experiencing coincidence once every 2 months, once every year, how could it be connected? How could you see any connectivity or meaning in coincidence, right? And also from this perception of our third dimensional time where it takes a long time to do things. But naturally through technology and all these things, you think of someone, you can call them right away. You need water, you go to the tap. It's not the same everywhere because if you're in Africa, you want water, it takes you like a day, right? So this is kind of the difference, but in this stage that we're in, things are starting to kind of speed up. Where this dimensional bridge where we're starting to understand that if we forget about the future and forget about the past and we just live right now and do everything we need to do now, maybe we'll be able to manifest things a bit quicker, right? Now, thinking about this idea of coincidence, if you were to start experiencing coincidence a couple times a week, a couple times a day, 10 times a day, 50 times a day, 100 times a day, where you think of someone, they call you. You think of something, someone is on the television doing it. You are thinking of, you're wanting to have some sort of guidance in a direction. All of a sudden a sign drives by and gives you that exact quote that you need. This is the idea whenever you start to experience these coincidences over and over and over and over, all of a sudden you start to question. You start to wonder, okay, why is it that these coincidences that could never be proven by Newtonian physics or Newtonian science or traditional mathematics, or this idea of materialism in our space and time in what we live here, it could never be proven. But why is it that it's starting to happen? And I'll tell you from my own personal experience in seeing this stair-step effect, where when we think of this spiral staircase, and we keep moving up the level, and we get closer and closer and closer, it almost seems that we're riding this wave and we're getting more and more aligned with our actions, our words, our thoughts. Everything we're doing is getting this alignment. And when that's happening, all of a sudden synchronicity becomes almost every part of your life. Every single aspect of your life is in a synchronistic motion. Where you feel like you're always in this perfect time, the perfect place, the perfect people, all of that. That's where this synchronicity journey can lie. And when you get into Deja Vu is interesting because a lot of the old science would say Deja Vu is just a neural pathway in your brain that triggers some memory, and all of a sudden you're feeling like you're experiencing a memory but was actually completely different, so it's really just an illusion. But I'll tell you from my own personal experience, when you start experiencing the same Deja Vu over and over and over again, like, you know that commercial that there's I think it's a Samsung commercial, when someone, it was like a joke, he's like, I think I just did a Deja Vu, right? So when you have a Deja Vu that's 5, 6, 7 times of the same thing, what do you think that means? Where in that instance, when the certain situation happens, it's almost identical to the last one, and you can predict exactly what's going to happen in this new situation, and basically spell it out before it happens, and then it happens. What is that?
Different things.
This is the idea, when you get deeper into this idea of Deja Vu or synchronicity, and you start seeing it as just as it is. Because this is where the key lies. Because I know a lot of people that I've talked to, especially in this room as well, who've experienced some things like this, they start getting really excited about it, right? You start getting really excited about it, and almost to the standpoint where you're looking for it. And this is where the illusion can definitely trap you. Where now you're looking for it all the time. I'm looking for the synchronicity to happen. I'm looking for the deja vu to happen. But that is, of course, an illusion and an imbalanced nature, because anytime you're getting excited that something has happened, synchronicity, deja vu, or anything else, basically what you're saying is that I don't feel like this happens often in my life. This doesn't happen often, and that's why I'm getting excited over it, and I'm telling everyone about it. The moment that you do this, this is the moment that the universe will be like, will slap you and say, I'm not giving you it again. Because you're not saying that it's a part of you. However, when you start to experience it, you almost see it just as it is, like it's a natural part of your life. Because this is the natural part of life. Your life is naturally supposed to be an intuitive flow where everything is in perfect order. So when that's happening, and you're just seeing it as it is, and you're accepting it, when you do it, it's amazing when you start experiencing it with other people who understand the concept as well, and it's basically just a nod. It's just an acknowledgement between you two, that you know it just happened, but there's no point in talking about it. That's the beauty. But the only time this happens is when you accept and you allow for it to be a normal aspect of your life, where basically your entire life will turn into this intuitive flow. So the key is, even if you're not experiencing this right now, and you feel like you're not experiencing this right now, the first thing you need to do is firstly allow yourself to, number one, make mistakes. Because one of the topics that I talked about today was the idea of question and answer, and listening to your intuition to guide you to these answers. We first need to realize that when you ask a question to yourself or the universal world, the answer is already there for you. You would only ask the question if you were already prepared for the answer. You can't ask a question you're not prepared for the answer. That's why most people are not asking questions. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want to know the answers. So when you're asking the question, trust that the answer will always come from you, nothing external. So this idea when we want our intuition to guide us to our purpose, to a relationship, to a new job, we feel like we need it in like we're going to go dream and there's going to be a banner that says, Corey, this is your purpose, right? Or a pigeon's going to come and drop a paper. This idea of this illusionary mindset that our intuition is a voice, and intuition is a voice that's telling us exactly what to do or what the answer is, but that's not the case. Intuition is just a feeling. It's a guidance where you act, you say, you do exactly what you're feeling you need to do in that moment. That's what intuition is. So generally we have this all the time. When you're in a lineup at a grocery store and you feel the inclination to say something to someone, what happens? Generally we don't say it because our mind tells us, no, people are watching, you're going to look stupid, you don't know this person, right? Simple example, but if you were to just go with your intuition, naturally you would speak. There would be no thought about it, you would just speak. And it's the same idea when you're wanting to know your purpose. You make certain actions to align yourself into that direction without thinking about it, not deciphering about it. Because the more you decipher, the more you're resisting this natural flow. You're resisting, you're resisting, you're resisting. Because your left brain, we've been programmed that our left brain is to decipher everything before we do it. Our left brain is only to decipher that which is already occurring. Intuition is the guidance. Intuition is the flow. Intuition is the natural state of life that everyone has access to. The left brain is to problem solve, decipher, have some rationality about how you should act and do certain things, but not to guide each and every moment of your life. That's where you feel like you need some sort of control over everything. I need to do this like this person needs to act this way, this and that. Instead, allow it all to unfold and allow your intuition to just guide to what it needs to, and the left brain will kind of handle itself. So when you get more into a balanced state, firstly is understanding that if I balance my left and right brain, so there's a piece in your brain in the middle, it's called the corpus callosum. Okay, so basically it's inactive for most people because you've been too far on one side. So you've been too far here. So the more you can do things like meditation, art, go into nature, be very creative in your expression, and this doesn't have to be art, this can be writing, this can be building a business, anything. Anything that involves creation, you will start to activate the right side of your brain. And when this happens, these neural pathways start connecting right in the center. Boom, 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 boom. And when you do this, you're finding a complete balance. And this also relates with two other things. Firstly, finding the center here, where your heart sends more information to the brain than the brain does to the heart. So understanding that if I sink into the heart more, I feel my gut, I understand what my feelings are telling me, not my mind. This is another way of being balanced. The third way is balancing the pendulum of emotion. We've talked about this many times. When you have a perception or a judgment on anything, whether it's good or bad, you are causing an emotional imbalance within you. If you get really excited about losing the lottery, or winning the lottery, if you get really excited about winning the lottery, you're feeling a positive emotion because you say that this is good, versus someone dying in your family, this is bad. The moment you stop this and you view everything just as it is, this happened, you find neutral. You find this. So when you have that, when you have this, when you have this is when the natural flow can continuously occur. Synchronicity will be all in your life. Deja vu will be all the time. You'll be able to understand things as they happen, know and say and do exactly what needs to happen in every single moment. That is the balance. This is a lifetime. Go ahead.
Don't you lose joy then?
Sorry?
Aren't you losing joy if you're only focusing on the neutral?
Well, we need to realize that most joy that we think is joy is from external situations. We need to understand that joy, peace, love, compassion comes here. If we feel this all the time, what do we need all these things for? That's when we can actually give, right? You can't love, there's all this idea you can't be in a relationship if you don't love yourself, all of these things, because everything is a mirror. You can't give anything outwards that you don't have. It's very simple. So, time, intuition, balance, all of these things connect. I feel like everything we talk about in this class, everything connects. And when you can start to see the connections, this is when life becomes much more magical than what we, kind of have created it to be right now. So I'll give you a tip when it comes to the calendar, because I know most people are like, well, Corey, I need to go to work on Monday, right? That's true. So what? And what we need to realize is that we cannot let the calendar use us, we must use the calendar, right? You manage your time, you be efficient, you show up on appointments correctly and on time, but you never worry that time is going to affect you in any way. You are always affecting it. I'm determining my schedule, I'm determining when I'm going to do this, I'm determining when this is going to happen. But if it doesn't happen, that's okay too. It's like anything, right? You have to live in the society that's been made for you. You can do some things to change it, as we are. But it's important to understand that you have to live in both worlds. However, I'm going to post it tonight. There's a new time signature that's been released. There's a company that's very dear to my heart, in which hasn't been talked about too much, because it's a paradigm that will change a lot of things. And it's a company called the New Earth Project, which basically is creating a new world paradigm of politics, money, finances, social interaction, education, everything. Everything you can ever imagine. There's a team of like 400 or 500 people internationally that are working on this. Anyways, they've created what is called 0 point time. So everything I've talked about, the rise and fall of the sun and the moon, the lunar. Now we're bringing these together, you're putting it together in a 0 point time. There's a new scientist called Nassim Haramein. So basically he's the new Einstein, who we've never heard of. And he created this, he's created many other beautiful things, but this in particular is something I've been using. It's very difficult to get used to, believe me. It's very hard to even understand it. But when you start doing it, when you start looking at it, when you start looking at it every day and reminding yourself that this may be something that you should get into, it will help, right? So, I didn't want to go too long, but, forgot about that. But this is the only topic that I wanted to go into today. And the next meditation we're going to get into is going to be with partners. I wanted to do a different one, we don't have too much time. But I want you tonight, to sit with yourself for 2 minutes. It doesn't even have to be a close your eyes meditation. But sit with yourself in a quiet place and allow your intention to just sit on the idea of time and what you think time is. And what you think about the calendar, what you think about this idea that time has created so many stresses, so many issues in our life, and has created a complete imbalance in nature. And think about it just for a moment. Who knows what's going to come up? You may think I'm crazy, you may think, no, Corey, I love the calendar. But chances are you will start to realize that as you start to experience these phenomena yourself, like synchronicity, deja vu, all of these things, and there's many more, We won't go into that. Maybe you'll start to ponder a little bit, right? And that's all this class is really for, is to get you to think about these things. Okay? Any questions? Not yet? Okay.